Hey, Mason here with the day 1 update for my character. So currently I am level 89, and this character can do 83 Sanctums, however the DPS may be a little bit low, so I would say it's like scuffed 83 Sanctums. So thought I'd give a quick rundown on the character as well as the progression for this character. In terms of how much I've played, 15 hours, and my Pilfering Ring looks like this, which is honestly, it's pretty bad, I'll be honest. I got some pretty bad luck, and I'll talk a little bit about that when I go to the spreadsheet that I've been tracking. But yeah, this character is a Energy Blade Inquisitor. It's following Kua's POEs, if you've, I've linked them in the previous videos. But there is a pretty cool new ring with a Foulborn mod called Your Damage with Hits is Lucky while on low life. And I did tell Kua about this, I think maybe nearly 12 hours ago now. But one of my mates spotted it and he told me, and I'm like, hey, that seems pretty good for our build. So I just let him know, and he also popped it, and it turns out to be better than Taming because Lucky Damage is really strong, especially for lightning damage, which is the primary type of damage we deal. But all the information's in the POB, so I won't really run through the character itself and the gems. You can just check out the POB for that. But I thought I'll more talk about the break, like the thresholds for each of the tiers of Sanctum, and progression through that and how it should look like. So with that in mind, I'm going to hop out of game. We're going to hop into... let me just hop into POB. Let's see if this works. Okay. Actually, I'll just share my desktop. Might be easier this way. Okay. So, this default loadout, just keep in mind there's loadouts up here. The default one is just the default, like there's nothing on it, so just ignore that. But the level 68 first Sanctum is the setup that I used to run the first Sanctum that I did for this league. In terms of what you really need to do, I'll show you, I have some videos of this. I think it was initial upgrade. Yep. So this was my character before. What I normally do when I swap characters is I have all the gear set up here. So I was heisting, demolition heisting. I buy all the gear. So this is my AG gear here. And then this is my actual piece of gear. And then I take out all the gems that I've been leveling. So I've been leveling a bunch of my skills. I go through all my gems. And then I would just speed this up. Probably like 4 times. So you can have a quick look. Basically, it's just taking out all the gems, placing them in a way that makes sense to me. So I'm placing them vertically, so the skills with their links going downwards, and then kind of organizing that, and then just slotting them in one by one, make sure they're all slotted in. And then generally after that, like I make sure the links and the colors are correct, and then I'll go with the slotting in. I want to speed it up even more. Let me just go 886. And it's like buying extra gems are missing, so automation was missing, convocation was missing, buying those. Turning on the helmet auras just to make sure they all work, depending on the links in them. And then again buying spectre gems, and then going to the towns to buy the high level version of the gems. And then I think it was discipline or something, I forgot which one it was. Assassin's Mark, sorry. And just going around and buying all the different gems that I need. So once that's all kind of placed in, now I went to look for a vendor weapon that had green, blue, green with 3 link, and I couldn't find any. I just didn't want to spend the chroms actually re-rolling my weapon, right? But you can easily just re-roll it. So I found a blue, green, blue with no links, and then I just linked it up, and it's really cheap because it's only a 3 link. And then after that, it's just doing your passive tree. So following the POBs in the spreadsheet that Kua's provided, and kind of just going through that and swapping over. So in this case, it was mainly taking out the fire nodes and then putting in the lightning ones. And then taking all of my gear off, and then taking the flasks, like the unrelevant flasks on, and putting on everything, make sure like actually all works, and then going to here to dump all this gear on the floor for my AG in the lab, and then turning on all the auras just to test that everything works and looks okay. And then I didn't really spot any issues, everything seems to be fine. And then doing flasks now. So in this case, we went silver, we went diamond, then we went quicksilver, so rolling a little bit of flasks. I'm not looking for anything too perfect, but kind of just rolling them to get something usable. And then I would open up POB, I import my character using the import and export feature, and then we start configuring some of the DPS stuff. So it looks like Foulborn's not being registered properly. It doesn't have the lucky damage line, and then just doing some of the config. But basically, this is the POB that you will see right here. This is what I configured. So now I'll talk about how you can actually figure out what's wrong with your build. So the first thing I noticed was that the DPS seems to be pretty low here, right? I copied in the config that Pbod was using. The DPS seems to be a bit low. Just like, why is it so low, right? So what I do is I spot the crit chance being way lower than his crit chance, and then I take a screenshot of this, and then his Pbod's one, and then I cross them out and I compare which ones I'm missing, or like where, for example, where I'm missing. So for example, I don't have a shield with it, and I don't have high voltage, which is the node on the tree, or an anoint. So with that in mind, I pull open my old POB from last league, which I did my first Sanctum on, and it looks like if you look at the actual crit stats and stuff, I did Sanctum fine with around the same amount of crit chance, actually lower than what I have currently. So I'm just like, oh, okay, it's good enough. I'll just take it straight into Sanctum then. I'm pretty sure I can do it without any issues. So now I'm just looking at some of the Quicksilver flasks. I don't think I buy any. Actually, no, I do buy one. I think it was... Actually, no, I take a look at the prices and they're all a bit too high. And I'm just like, eh. I ping for one tiny bit better. And then here's where I do the shield search. So in case you're not sure how to use POB, there is a feature in POB that allows you to look for items based on your damage. And that's kind of just what I use here. So in a second here, you'll see that, I'll just skip ahead again, over here. So yeah, pull out the PB in a second. I'll press, okay, yep. And then trade for items. And then you look for the thing you're trading for, so the weapon. And then I need to make sure that the weights are correct. So it's searching for DPS and effective hit pool, but I actually don't care about effective hit pool because we're playing Sanctum, right? So adjust the weights, come down here, drag this to 0, and then find, and then control click the link, and it will pull open this page, and then use the sum feature, sort by sum, and then just look for the really cheap ones. So there's like 5C, I ping the guy, see if he accepts. I forgot if he accepted or not. I don't think they do actually. But yeah, they don't accept, so I go down a bit more and there's like, okay, this one here, this blue one here for 1C, travel to hideout, right? No need to deal with that stuff. I just immediately go use async trade and just grab the item. So now that that's done, I have a look at some Quicksilvers with crit on them, but they're not really that exceptional, so I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'm going to regal this item, and then I'll craft on it. So I put the gems in, and then in a second here, I paste it into POB to just check if it increases my damage, which it did a tiny bit, and that's basically it. So I put that away, put it on my sell tab, sort flasks out a little bit more. Nothing exceptional, but I craft like an extra line on it. I think it was cast speed or something. It seems to be the highest damage on POB. Over here you can see me checking it in POB. So right here I'm checking it. There's no way to check this well, so you kind of have to scroll down through this thing. It's really annoying. But I just check that basically, and let's give it a little bit more. Just armor scraps and stuff, right? Just kind of very standard stuff. And then we start the Sanctum. So this Sanctum was, it's perfectly fine with the setup. So this POB is easily enough to do the Sanctum. I'm doing my microtransactions, and then I'm also using my invisible auras and stuff. Just standard stuff that I just forgot to do about before. But I'm just going to skip ahead to some of the bosses, because I don't really think there's any point of watching the general Sanctum gameplay here. Okay, I'm going to put it to 1x, and we're just going to hop ahead. So here's the first boss. Place my brands, mark, very easy. Right, no issues at all. And then over here is the second boss, probably in a second. Yep, right here. Again, 2 marks on each side. And then mark, sorry, two brands on each side, and then mark one of them, and switch to mark over when one of them dies. And then do some more trade there. And then we're gonna skip ahead to the third boss. In a second here. Oh, should be like go back a bit. Okay, place brands. Back up. And then boss dies. Not much to it. And then Lycia was basically very straightforward as well. Nothing too significant. So I actually got 2 divines on my first run. You'll see this in a second. I got really lucky, but then I had terrible luck for like the next 10 Sanctum runs, which was really bad. So here's Lycia. Extremely standard way you clear him. I'll clear her. Again, place brands, mark, dash into the corner, then come down here, and then just speed dash through the end into the next part. Then over here, exactly the same. And then in a second here, once we go to the next phase, okay, very standard. And then 2 divines on my first run. So that's kind of the setup there. In terms of what I've done, so I did 1 quest sanctum, and then I got 2 divines in it, and then I did 10 sanctums, or what is this? 7 sanctums with not a single divine in any of them. I did fail one. This one's unfortunate, and I also did a very low level one for a friend to carry him for Lyceum. And then I managed to hit 2 divines again, and then I died in my first 83 sanctum. So in terms of the way you progress through, like, up the levels, I'll show you a little bit about progression in PoB first, and then we'll go with what actually it looks like in game. So the first one, I say level 79, and I put 75 to 80 sanctums. But probably if you're not experienced, go 70 to 75. But 70, it depends on the damage. It can be a little bit annoying to do. But generally, the way you get to this stage is through 3 pieces. A 5-link on Ghost Wraith, a Astramentus to sort your attributes, and then a Repentance Crusader Gloves to sort the strength and to get Iron Will. So that's kind of the first 3 pieces that you would do for your upgrades, and they're generally not that expensive. You can also look to automate your flasks as well. That's kind of personal preference. I actually automated them very late. I just automated them just then, but this is kind of the first upgrade you do. So these 3 pieces. So your Ghost Wraith will be 5-linked. You can see here there's 5 links now, 5 blues. And then you'll move your links that were in your chest originally into your gloves, which is your minion links. At least for me, it was my minion links. So this one here, 2 red and 2 blue. And then your Astramentus will sort your attributes. So the next kind of step, this will push you basically to, I'll say 70 to 75 if you're not experienced. But I was doing between 75 and 80s. Although it can be a little bit annoying if your DPS is low or you get bad boons, debuffs. So it's up to you, personal preference, and just try it. The next upgrade is to get into, like, what would I say? This is level 83, by the way, not the Sanctum level. But this is to push into, like, push a little bit higher, right? So I'll say between 75 and 80, but it feels a bit better, mainly because I rushed getting Remarkable. So Remarkable is this cluster for brands here, this one here. It makes it so that if you have 3 of these, when you press once, you get 2 brands, and they both attach onto the same target, which is very important for Penance brand. So I have 1, 2, and 3, and I also involves dropping all the minion nodes here. So dropping some of these minion nodes here, and there's like one over here to get the clusters, basically get these keystones, the notables. That's the only thing we care about at the moment. So this will, again, will be around 75 to 80 sanctums. So if you take a look at my spreadsheet, probably around like these kind of levels here, right? But again, it depends on your level of experience and your tolerance of risk. And generally, Sanctum tomes are so cheap, it is worth it to just do much harder ones. Like, assuming you can complete them, say, sometimes, because they drop a lot more loot in terms of what you get from the towers, as well as, the altars, as well as the divines. So after I did Remarkable first, but you can prioritize stuff in different order. But personally, what I did first was I did the 3 things: Astramentus, Astramentus, Repentance, and 5-link Ghost Wraith. And then I went into the clusters, and then I think I automated like 1 flask, and then you get Magnate on your belt, which is generally a bit more expensive. And then I changed my flasks as well. So my flasks are now 2 silver, 2 quicksilver, and a diamond. And this one's automated, this one's automated, and this one's automated. And these 2 are just for manual pressing at the start of a room. I've automated them using the use when you hit a rare or unique enemy. But it's really personal preference which one you prefer, whether you want to use the when full or this one. This one I prefer in Sanctum because generally you won't really get it to be full at the right time, and you want it to be on when you're hitting enemies. So this is my current setup. I'll just quickly show you. Okay. So this was, again, I'm just going to play this at a very fast speed just to give you an idea of what you're looking at. This was the triple clusters. what you do to craft these is you just Alt-Org spam until you hit Remarkable, and that's really it. So this is respecing the tree, right? I'm trying to speed it up very much, just to give you an idea of what actually it looks like. So respecting the tree, going up there, taking out some of the nodes, then looking at large clusters. So we need a large cluster, right? So in this case, I just bought a random large cluster. I think it was this setup here. Just a random large cluster with like nothing significant. And then you put that on. So I just bought one randomly. And then we'll skip ahead. And then I put it on. So I don't really care about anything about it, right? I just need it on my skill tree. And then respec, and then sort it out. And then just figure out how to get Remarkable. We want 3 Remarkables, and that's good to go, right? That's it. So that's kind of the transition into getting the clusters. It's very straightforward. The next one is the Magnate, which is also extremely straightforward. The only thing that you need with the Magnate, I forgot if I... Okay, this was the wrong video. But I think this was probably it. This was a Magnate kill. It's generally just like standard Sanctum stuff. You just kill the boss without any significant issues. I'll just skip to the end to show the last phase. I don't think I had any damage boons in this run. So very standard stuff. Magnate is pretty straightforward as well, but generally for Magnate, so I think it was from here to here. I did it alongside, oh sorry, did it at the very end. You want to make sure that you have 400 strength. So over here I have 450. And the easiest way is, for example, nodes here, or respecing your tree to go down here to get these strength nodes on the way up. So that's kind of how you make sure that you have enough strength for Magnate. Magnate is a very, very large power spike that I noticed personally, because you get a ton of strength, which then gives you a ton of crit from Inquisitor's crit node. So this one here, Righteous Providence. And in bonus with that, you also get the effects of Magnate, which is, again, strength, double damage, and triple damage. So I think it's a very large power spike. And it's like it's like a one item that gives you a ton of power without like any significant changes. So you see here, my crit's like really high now, 1000 crit, 900 crit again. But if you go down again, 900, and then 700. So mainly, looks like it's not actually that significant in terms of the crit it gives you, but it's like 10% crit, right? So 7 to nearly 90%. So it is like 10% crit. So it's still relatively important. But yeah, generally Magnate will push you into, you can basically do scuffed 83 Sanctums. That's what I was doing. And what I mean by scuffed, it's like half scuffed, like I could clear it, but I am like pretty tired and pretty cooked from playing all day. But you see here's a fail. This is with a damage boon, so keep that in mind. But generally, if your tolerance for like failure, the tomes are so cheap that the loot that comes out of it is just worth doing anyways. Assuming you can finish it most of the time, and just to get a tiny bit more money to get like more like your spectres or your Pbod, and then generally you'll be good to go. So you see here, damage is not the highest, right? Right here, if Lycia was doing the lightning, she would have probably got it off, or she would have died at the end. But you can see here, it's pretty unfortunate because I did not dash preemptively. So like in a second here, you'll see me wrap around, and I make sure I'm moving to make sure I can avoid this attack. But I have no flask, so I'm really slow, and I did not use shield charge or flame dash in time to kind of dodge this. So yeah, that's basically it. This setup can do 83 Sanctums. They are scuffed until you get more damage. But one more thing in this setup that I forgot to mention is that you actually do use a spectre. I bought I think it was called Perfect Paint Artist for like 2 divines or something. Pretty expensive. Probably not worth buying this early. But I'll just add that in actually because I forgot to add that in. This one here, it gives Zealotry. So Zealotry is pretty useful and helps with boosting the damage to a more reasonable amount. The next upgrade again is Perfect Spirit of Fortune, because that will boost your damage even more, which you really need. But with Perfect Spirit of Fortune, you should be able to do 83 Sanctums fine. And if you really want to boost it even further, once you get Perfect Spirit of Fortune, you can drop the Foulborn Lori's Lantern, because this gives you lightning damage. It doesn't say here, but in-game, I'll just show you quickly. In game, it says your damage with hits is lucky while on a low life. So in game, it gives you lucky damage. However, the Spirit of Fortune also gives you lucky damage, which I'm not sure if it shows here. Yeah, it doesn't show here, but it also gives you lightning damage is lucky. So what you can do is you can grab that and you can take a taming. So the taming, I think it's called this ring here. Chuck that into this slot here, and you should be good to do 83 Sanctums without any significant issues. Obviously, what you can do next is get proper jewels. Sorry, just sneezing. But you can get proper jewels and you can actually click the nodes. So obviously you want 5 passives. These are 6 passives because they were cheap, but you want 5 passive jewels. And you want to actually click the jewel socket and then put in jewels. But that's like one more upgrade you can do to make sure you can get a bit more damage. And the next one is just getting more levels, right? So you can click like some of these brand nodes, and that's more or less it. I think there's like another jewel socket over here that you can potentially go to if you want. But generally, these 3 jewel sockets will give you a ton of power. And then these perfect pain artists, sorry, the Spirit of Fortune will give you a ton of power. And once you get that, you can get taming, which will give you a bit more power. And that will basically allow you to do 83 Sanctums without any significant issues. Unfortunately, the reason why I'm making this without actually getting to that stage myself is because I will be very busy for the next like 3 days. So I basically won't be able to play much. So I thought I would just get this out today while I still have the time before I am busy with real life stuff for the next 3 days. But yes, I think that more or less covers it. I'll just see if I can, I don't know if prices appear on here, but probably worth having a look anyways. Is the trade tracker? Oh yeah. Okay, most of it's not really useful, this overlay anymore, because most of it's actually done in the in-game system with the async. But yeah, hopefully those lines of progression make sense. It's not actually as difficult. Oh, one thing I will mention is that what I did different this league for leveling is at level 80. I think as soon as I finished Act 7, I started doing Heist. And I'll see if I can show that in a second here. Alright, so I'm just going to grab my stream open. And we're just going to put it on 2x. So, at level, I think it was like, at the end of Act 7, I started doing Heist. And so it was like level, 60, I think it was like 55 or something. The reason why I didn't do this before, so previously I would finish the entire campaign before killing Katava and then start doing Heist. However, I think it's much better to do it earlier because prices of gear is cheaper. And so I just started doing Heist very early and you spam it a bunch and I got pretty high level. And then once I had enough money, this is when I started buying all the pieces, right? Once I had enough money from doing Heist, I'm not sure if I can show this. I just finished the rest of the campaign to get my lab. And then once I did my lab, I swapped over with third lab. So that's where the initial lab swap video is. The one thing I will just point out is, what was it called? Call of the Brotherhood. COBT. This is a ring. If you ever do play this yourself, and you're doing a strategy like this where you heist, you should buy this item immediately. It should be your first item that you buy because this one it spiked when I was trying to buy it. It went from 20C to like 40C. So I ended up paying a very large premium. And look here, now it's like super cheap already, right? But the difference is, again, it's very cheap now, but my build has the power to do, like, I've been doing Sanctums already, right? So that's kind of the trade-off, time versus price. You could just like AFK like 3 days and then come back and everything will be dirt cheap for you to play. But yeah, so I think that more or less wraps it up. I'm a bit tired. This is maybe a little bit rambly, playing all day. But I will be busy for the next few days, so I won't be making any videos. At least I don't think I will. So we'll see how that goes, because there won't be any significant progress for the build. It would literally just be getting the extra spectre, getting these jewel sockets sorted, so getting better mediums, and then clicking the actual jewel sockets. And then there was one more that I forgot. I think it was just leveling up. Yeah. Yep, that's more or less it, yeah. Or gem quality, that kind of stuff. So like these don't have any quality. Some of these don't have quality, so getting those up. You can go for a 6 link on Growth if you really want to pay the premium. Obviously depends on prices, but you can always just skip this and just go straight to power charge stacking, which is what I'm going to do next. Once I can actually get to the 83 Sanctums consistently, in terms of the tiny bit more upgrades that I need. But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up here before I ramble on a bit too much. But yeah, hopefully your league starts going well. Hopefully if you are following this build, or if you are following Kua and you need a bit more hand holding, you might be newer. Hopefully this kind of progression step by step shows you. But what I would recommend actually, because normally I do Sanctums when I'm very confident that I can actually clear them without doing lightning, you can actually do Sanctum, higher level Sanctums much earlier than I personally expected that I could have, and it probably applies to you as well. You can probably do this much earlier for your character. Again, it's just confidence really, and practice, and experience, and not being tired. But yeah, that's really it. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching, and if you're interested in seeing more content, so it will be power charge stacking into no hit runs, please feel free to like and subscribe. Cool, I'm out.